I should have known something was wrong when Derek ordered the most expensive bottle of wine without even glancing at the price. We were celebrating his promotion to senior vice president at Marcello's, the Italian restaurant where he'd proposed to me 6 years ago. The irony wasn't lost on me as I sat across from him now, watching him bask in the glow of success. This was the position he'd been chasing for 3 years, the one that had consumed countless evenings and weekends, the one I'd supported him through by managing every single aspect of our household while working my own full-time job as a graphic designer. The waiter poured the wine with a flourish, and Derek raised his glass. "To finally making it," he said, his smile wide and genuine. I clinked my glass against his, feeling genuinely happy for him. "You worked so hard for this. You deserve it." "We both did," he said, and for a moment I thought we were on the same page. "I couldn't have done it without your support." That happiness lasted exactly 4 more minutes. The food arrived, osso buco for him, wild mushroom risotto for me. And as we ate, I noticed Derek's demeanor shifting. His posture straightened. His voice grew louder. He started talking about his new salary like it was a lottery win, throwing around numbers that made the couple at the next table glance over. "You know what the best part is?" Derek leaned back in his chair with a smugness I'd never seen before, swirling his wine like some corporate magnate. "I finally don't have to worry about money anymore. I can actually afford to carry this family." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. "What do you mean? We've always split things fairly." His expression shifted into something cold, something that made my stomach drop. "Split things? Emma, be serious. Your little design projects barely cover your own expenses. Let's be honest, you've been coasting on my income for years." The restaurant suddenly felt too hot. The soft jazz playing in the background became grating. "Coasting? Derek, I pay half the mortgage, half the utilities, I buy all the groceries, I manage the entire household. With money that's basically mine anyway." He took another sip of wine, completely casual, as if he hadn't just detonated a bomb at our table. "Look, I'm not trying to be harsh, but now that I'm making real money, maybe it's time we acknowledged reality. You're essentially a freeloader with a hobby." The word hung in the air between us like poison. A freeloader. I'd spent the last 5 years waking up at 6 a.m. to prepare his breakfast before handling client calls at 7. I'd canceled my own deadlines to drive him to the airport for business trips at 4 in the morning. I'd turned down a promotion that required travel because he said someone needed to hold down the fort at home. I'd meal prepped, scheduled maintenance, handled every birthday card to his relatives, arranged every social event, and somehow still managed to build my own career from the ground up. And now, after one promotion, I was a freeloader. The waiter appeared to refill our water glasses, and I used those few seconds to compose myself. When he left, I looked at Derek, really looked at him, and saw a stranger wearing my husband's face. "A freeloader," I repeated slowly. "Emma, come on. Don't be sensitive. I'm just saying that with my new position, we can finally be honest about our financial dynamic. You do your design thing, and I'll handle the real responsibilities." Something ice-cold settled in my chest. Not anger, not yet. Something far more dangerous, clarity. In that moment, a plan began forming, piece by piece, like a puzzle assembling itself. I would teach Derek exactly what my contribution was worth. I would show him the invisible labor that kept his comfortable life running smoothly. And I would do it in a way he couldn't ignore. I smiled at him across the table. A real smile that seemed to confuse him. "You're absolutely right, Derek. You're making the real money now. You should handle everything." "Exactly. I'm glad you— Wait, what?" "From now on, you should manage all the household expenses. The mortgage, utilities, everything. You're the breadwinner. Act like it." He laughed uncertainly. "Emma, I didn't mean." "No, you're right. I've been coasting. So I'll just focus on my little hobby and stay out of the financial stuff entirely." I picked up my fork and took a bite of risotto. "This is delicious, by the way. We should enjoy it. It might be the last time you can afford to eat here for a while." Derek's confident smile faltered. What's that supposed to mean? But I just kept eating, and what he didn't know, what he couldn't possibly know, was that I'd been planning for a moment like this for months. Not this exact scenario, but I'd been preparing for the possibility that Derek would eventually show his true colors. I had documentation. I had records. And I had a secret that would make this whole situation far more interesting than he could imagine. He had no idea what he'd just agreed to. Derek thought I was joking until Monday morning. He came down for breakfast to find me sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop and coffee, and nothing else. No eggs Benedict the way he liked them, with the hollandaise sauce made from scratch. No toast from the artisan bakery I drove 15 minutes out of my way to visit. No fresh-cut fruit arranged in a bowl with yogurt and granola. Just me, my laptop, and my coffee. "Where's breakfast?" he asked, checking his Rolex, the one I'd helped him pick out last year for his 40th birthday. "Oh, I figured since I'm a freeloader, I should probably just focus on my hobby." I didn't look up from my screen, where I was reviewing a contract proposal. "You're the breadwinner now. Breadwinners make their own bread." He laughed uncomfortably, loosening his tie. "Come on, don't be petty. I have a 7:30 meeting. Then you should probably get going. Traffic's terrible on Monday mornings." I finally looked up and met his eyes. "Unless you were planning to grab something on the way?" "Oh, but you'll need to log into the meal delivery app. I canceled our subscription since that's technically a household expense." "You canceled, Emma, that's ridiculous." "Is it?" I turned my laptop around to show him the spreadsheet I'd been working on all weekend. "I've been doing some calculations. I'm not being petty, Derek. I'm being honest about our arrangement. You said you'd carry this family financially. So carry it. I'll take care of my expenses, you take care of yours, and everything else." "Everything else?" His confidence was cracking like ice on a spring pond. I pulled out a printed version of the spreadsheet, color-coded and annotated. "The mortgage payment is due on the 15th. That's $4,200. Internet and cable are another $300. Electric averages $250, but it's summer so you're looking at closer to $320 with the AC running. Gas is $80. Water and sewage are $140. The gardening service is $200 every 2 weeks. The house cleaners come twice a month at $150 per visit. We have 3 streaming services at $45 total. Your car insurance is $180, mine is $160, but I'll handle my own. Home insurance is paid quarterly. That's $1,200 due next month." Derek's face was going pale, but I wasn't finished. "Then there's groceries, which average $800 a month because you prefer organic and we eat well. Household supplies like toilet paper, cleaning products, light bulbs, budget at least $150. The water softener salt is delivered monthly at $60. Oh, and your gym membership is $120 per month. I'll cancel mine since that's a personal expense. Emma, this is over $7,000 a month. $7,342 to be exact. But that's not including variable costs like when something breaks or needs maintenance. Last month the HVAC needed servicing. That was $400. The month before, we needed new tires for your car, $600. I closed my laptop and stood up. But you just got a huge promotion, so that shouldn't be a problem, right?" Derek was staring at the spreadsheet like it was written in hieroglyphics. I didn't realize it was all so much." "Of course you didn't. Because I handled it. Invisibly. While also working full-time at my hobby." I picked up my coffee and moved toward my home office. "Oh, and the house cleaners come Thursday at 10 a.m. You'll need to be here to let them in since I have a client meeting in the city. You remember Vanessa and her team, right? They've been cleaning our house for 3 years, but you've never been here when they come. I can't take off work on Thursday. Then you'll need to reschedule them. Their number is on the fridge." I paused at the doorway. "Welcome to household management, Derek. I'm sure you'll be great at it. After all, it's not like it's real work or anything." What Derek didn't know, what I'd been carefully hiding, was that my little design projects had been generating far more than he assumed for the past 18 months. I'd been funneling extra income into our shared expenses and into a private savings account he knew nothing about. The Anderson Corporation had been courting me for months, and I was days away from signing a contract that would triple my current income. But Derek was about to discover exactly how expensive his comfortable life had been, and I was about to discover whether his promotion could actually cover the lifestyle he'd taken for granted. As I settled into my office, I heard him frantically making phone calls. First to his assistant, asking her to explain his benefits package. Then to someone at the bank, his voice rising with each passing minute. The real lesson was just beginning, and I had a front row seat. If you're still watching right now, you're exactly the kind of viewer I love. Subscribe so I can keep giving you stories that touch your heart. Hit that bell so you never miss what happens next. 3 weeks in, and Derek was unraveling like a cheap sweater. I came home from a client dinner to find him surrounded by papers at the dining table. Bills, bank statements, spreadsheets, sticky notes with calculations scrawled in increasingly desperate handwriting. His laptop was open to what looked like 17 different tabs, his tie was loosened, his hair disheveled. This wasn't the confident man who'd called me a freeloader. This was someone drowning. "Bad day." I asked, setting down my keys and the doggy bag from Marcello's, where I'd been dining alone this time. The water heater broke. His voice was flat, defeated. Do you know what it costs to replace a water heater? $2,000. $2,000. And that's after I already paid the mortgage, the electric bill that was somehow $340 this month, because apparently we ran the AC more than usual, the gardening service, the internet, He looked up at me with desperate, bloodshot eyes. How did you keep track of all this? Practice, I said simply. And careful budgeting. Did you call the plumber I usually use? Tom Henderson? He gives us a 20% discount because I referred him to 3 neighbors. There's a plumber you usually use? With a discount. Derek's voice cracked slightly. Why didn't you tell me? You said I was a freeloader, Derek. Freeloaders don't have valuable knowledge about household management, vendor relationships, or cost-saving strategies. I moved toward the kitchen. Have you eaten? Oh wait, that's not my concern anymore. The petty satisfaction felt good, like scratching an itch I'd been ignoring for weeks. But then I noticed the deeper signs of his struggle. The weight loss, the dark circles under his eyes, the tremor in his hands as he shuffled through papers. Derek, when's the last time you slept? I don't know. Thursday. Maybe Wednesday night for a few hours. He rubbed his face. I keep having nightmares about drowning in bills. Do you know the credit card statement came, and it was $1,800? $1,800. And I have no idea what half of it is even for, because I just bought things. Like we always do. Like we've always done. Like I always budgeted for. I corrected gently. My phone buzzed with a text from my boss, Jennifer. The Anderson Corporation contract came through. They want you to lead the entire rebrand. It's a 6-figure project, Emma. Actually, it's $240,000 for 18 months of work. Call me tomorrow. This is career-defining. 6 figures. $240,000. For a year and a half of work that would finally definitively prove I was anything but a freeloader. But as I looked at Derek crumbling under the weight of responsibilities I'd carried silently for years, something unexpected twisted in my chest. This wasn't just about teaching him a lesson anymore. This was about whether our marriage could survive the truth. That he'd valued neither my contributions nor me. That he'd diminished my work while benefiting from my labor. I was about to tell him about the contract, to throw him a lifeline, when his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and his entire body tensed in a way I'd never seen before. His eyes went wide, then darted to me, then back to the phone. I need to take this, he muttered, practically running toward his office. Through the closed door I heard fragments of conversation. I know. Yes, the money is tight right now. Mom, I can't. I'm trying. Please don't. Mom. Derek's mother and I had what could politely be called a complicated relationship. Patricia had made it clear from day one that I wasn't good enough for her son. Not wealthy enough, not from the right background, not focused enough on giving her grandchildren. But Derek rarely took her calls, and he never, ever spoke to her privately where I couldn't hear. What I overheard next made my blood run cold, and would change the entire game we'd been playing. The treatment costs more than they said. I know I promised. Mom, please, I can't let Emma find out like this. Treatment? What treatment? What was Derek hiding? I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but Derek's voice kept rising, and our house wasn't that big. Mom, I told you I'd help with the medical bills, but I can't right now. No, Emma doesn't know about any of this. Because I knew she'd make me choose, and you're my mother. Of course I love her, but this is different. Medical bills? What medical bills? My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. I pressed myself against the wall outside his office, barely breathing. Derek's mother, Patricia, had always been cold to me, making subtle digs about my career, my clothes, my decision to wait on children. She'd called my work cute at family dinners. She'd asked Derek, in front of me, if he ever regretted not marrying Catherine from his college days, who was now a surgeon. But she was sick, and Derek had been hiding it? The promotion will cover it eventually, Derek continued, his voice strained and broken. I just need a few months to get ahead of our regular expenses first. I know Dad's insurance won't cover the experimental treatment. Mom, please don't cry. You're not going to die. I won't let you die. My hand flew to my mouth. Cancer? Patricia had cancer? I'm sending what I can. I moved some money around. Used the credit card for a cash advance. Yes, I know the interest rate is terrible, but what choice do I have? No, I can't ask Emma. You don't understand our situation right now. She'd probably just... I don't know what she'd do. Suddenly, everything shifted into horrifying focus. The freeloader comment wasn't about arrogance or success going to his head. It was panic. Derek had committed to paying for his mother's treatment before even getting the promotion, probably when she was first diagnosed. He'd been counting on that raise to cover both his mother's medical expenses and our household costs. And then I'd stripped away his access to my financial contributions, leaving him drowning. But there was more. I know you never liked her, Mom, but this isn't about that. Yes, I remember you said I should have married someone from a better family, someone with real money, but, Mom, that's not fair. I love Emma. I do, but right now I just need to focus on saving your life. Ice flooded my veins. He'd let his mother badmouth me while he was secretly funneling money to her. He'd called me a freeloader while bankrupting himself to please a woman who'd spent 6 years treating me like I wasn't good enough. But he'd still called me a freeloader. He'd still diminished everything I did instead of being honest. And now I held all the cards because I'd just landed a contract that could solve everything. But he didn't know that. The office door opened suddenly, and Derek nearly walked into me. His eyes were red and swollen, his face blotchy from crying. Emma! He froze. How long have you been standing there? Long enough. My voice sounded strange, distant. Your mother has cancer. He deflated, all the fight going out of him. Yes. And you've been paying for her treatment. Trying to. The experimental therapy she needs costs $40,000. Insurance won't cover it because it's not FDA approved yet. Dad's pension barely covers their basic expenses. He slumped against the doorframe. I committed to paying for half before I got the promotion. My brother is covering the other half, but he's got 3 kids and you called me a freeloader instead of asking for help. My voice was sharper than I intended, cutting through his explanation like a knife. I panicked. Derek looked at me with something like desperation. I thought if I could make it seem like you weren't contributing much, then taking over all the bills wouldn't seem impossible. I could be the hero who saves my mom and takes care of my wife, and proves to everyone that I'm successful enough to handle everything. I could finally be enough. Enough for who? He didn't answer, but he didn't need to. Patricia's voice echoed in my memory from 100 family dinners. When are you going to make real money, Derek? Your cousin bought a second house. I hope you're not struggling financially with your situation. Derek had been trying to prove himself to a woman who would never be satisfied. And he'd sacrificed me in the process. Emma, I'm drowning. I'm completely drowning. He slid down the wall until he was sitting on the floor, this successful vice president reduced to tears in his own hallway. The promotion was supposed to fix everything. I'd have enough money to save Mom, to cover our expenses, to finally prove I'm not a failure. But I can't do it alone. I can't even keep our water heater running. This was my moment. I could tell him about the Anderson contract. I could save us both. But first, I needed to know something that would determine whether our marriage survived this or ended tonight. Derek, if I hadn't forced this arrangement, would you have ever told me the truth? His silence told me everything, and my next decision would determine the course of the rest of our lives. No, Derek finally whispered, his voice barely audible. I wouldn't have told you. The honesty hurt worse than the lie. I walked past him into the living room, needing space, needing air. Through the window, I could see our neighbor's sprinklers creating tiny rainbows in the evening light. Something beautiful happening in the midst of all this ugliness. Behind me, I could hear Derek crying. Actually crying, deep sobs that shook his whole body. Part of me wanted to comfort him, to be the supportive wife I'd always been. But the other part, the part that had been called a freeloader, the part that had been dismissed and diminished, wanted him to sit in this discomfort. To really feel it. I landed a 6-figure contract today, I said, not turning around. The Anderson Corporation rebrand. It's the biggest project of my career. I heard Derek's sharp intake of breath, the crying stopping abruptly. Emma, that's incredible. That's $240,000 over 18 months. Now I turned to face him. That's proof I'm not a freeloader. That's proof my little hobby is actually worth something. His face crumbled. I never should have said that. I know your work is valuable. No, Derek. You don't get to backtrack now. I sat on the arm of the couch, maintaining distance. I've been making nearly as much as your old salary for the past 2 years. I just never made it a competition because I thought we were partners. I funneled my extra income into our savings account, into upgrading this house, into the vacation fund, into the life you took for granted. The savings account? Derek's eyes widened. You mean the one with $63,000 in it? Yes. I watched realization dawn on his face. I've been saving for years, Derek. For our future, for emergencies, for the children we talked about having. While you assumed I was barely scraping by. He buried his face in his hands. I had no idea. I'm such an idiot. You're not an idiot. You're someone who made assumptions and then constructed an entire reality around those assumptions without ever bothering to verify them. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, turning it to show him. This is my business checking account. See those deposits? Those are from clients, real clients paying real money for my services. Derek stared at the numbers, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. You made $32,000 last month alone? It was a good month. I had 3 project completions and 2 rush jobs. I put my phone away. But you wouldn't know that because you never asked about my work. Not really. You'd say, how was your day at dinner? But when I tried to talk about a difficult client or a creative breakthrough, your eyes would glaze over. You'd change the subject to your work, your deals, your office politics. Emma, your mother needs help. I understand that. I cut him off, not ready to let him speak yet. I even sympathize, despite how she treats me, despite how she spent 6 years making it clear I'm not good enough for her son. Cancer is terrible, and nobody deserves that. But you chose to lie and diminish me instead of being honest. That's the real problem here. Not the money. The dishonesty. Derek pulled himself up from the floor, moving slowly like an old man. You're right. You're completely right, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Emma. I've been a terrible husband. Sorry isn't enough, I said quietly. But it's a start. I'll do anything. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. I'd been thinking about this moment since I heard him on the phone with Patricia. I'd been calculating, planning, deciding what kind of marriage I wanted, and what I was willing to accept. The answer had surprised even me. Here's what's going to happen, I said, pulling up my spreadsheet again, the one I'd revised and updated. I'm going to pay half of our household expenses again, just like before. But we're doing it properly this time. We're opening a joint account specifically for shared expenses. We each contribute 50%, and all household bills come from that account. Complete transparency. Derek nodded eagerly. Yes, absolutely. Whatever you want. We're going to marriage counseling. Non-negotiable. I've already researched therapists who specialize in financial infidelity and communication issues. We start next week. Financial infidelity? Derek's face paled further. Is that what this is? You hit a major financial commitment and lied about our financial situation. Yes, that's exactly what this is. I stood up, moving to the kitchen to pour myself a glass of water. My hands were surprisingly steady. And we're going to visit your mother together. We're going to sit down with her and your father and your brother, and we're going to figure out a payment plan for her treatment that we all agree on. As a family. As partners. Emma, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Because that's what partners do, Derek. They support each other through difficult times. They make hard decisions together. They don't lie and manipulate and diminish each other. I took a sip of water, gathering my thoughts. I'm willing to contribute to your mother's treatment costs. Not because I like her, let's be honest, we both know she's never liked me, but because I love you, and she's important to you. Derek's eyes filled with fresh tears. I don't deserve you. No, you don't. Not right now. I set down the glass. But maybe you will again if you do the work. Which brings me to my next requirement. Anything. You're going to document every single thing I've contributed to this household for the past 5 years. Every meal cooked, every errand run, every appointment scheduled, every gift bought for your relatives, every social event planned, every sacrifice made. You're going to actually see the invisible labor I've performed while building my career. And then you're going to thank me properly for being your partner, not your employee or your dependent or your freeloader. Derek nodded, wiping his eyes. I will. I'll start tonight. And Derek, I leaned against the counter, making sure he was looking directly at me. If you ever make me prove my worth to you again, I won't. I'll just leave. Because I deserve someone who sees my value without needing a lesson in basic respect. I deserve someone who treats me like a partner, not a subordinate. Do you understand? Yes. His voice was firm now, stronger. Yes, I understand. And you do deserve that. You deserve so much better than how I've treated you. We stood in silence for a long moment, the weight of everything hanging between us. Our marriage wasn't fixed, not by a long shot. We had months of hard work ahead, maybe years. But maybe finally, we were starting from a place of honesty. The Anderson contract starts in 2 weeks, I said. It's going to be demanding. Long hours, Lots of travel to their headquarters in Boston. I'll be gone sometimes for days at a time. I'll manage the household while you're gone. Derek's jaw set with determination. I'll prove to you that I can handle it, that I respect what you've been doing all this time. You'd better, I said. Because I'm not doing this again. I'm not teaching you the same lesson twice. Over the following weeks, something shifted between us. Derek threw himself into household management with the same intensity he'd always applied to his career. He created spreadsheets, set up automatic payments, built relationships with our service providers. He learned that Tom the plumber had a daughter in college studying marine biology. He discovered that the house cleaners, Vanessa and her team, were actually running a family business, and that Maria, the youngest, was saving up for nursing school.